Far from the headlines, thousands of kilometers from home, ordinary lives collide with one of the most brutal conflicts of our time. This is the story of Uzbeks in the war in Ukraine. Those who left their homeland for work found themselves entangled in geopolitics, and sometimes ended up on the front lines. Uzbekistan is home to nearly 40 million people. Many of its citizens seek work abroad, especially in Russia, due to economic necessity. Migrant labor is a lifeline for families back home. But when opportunity meets desperation, vulnerability follows. When war demands manpower, some reports say recruiters have targeted migrant communities. For Uzbeks, the line between labor recruitment and military conscription has increasingly blurred. These figures may underrepresent the reality on the ground. Many labor migrants also hold Russian legal status, or find themselves with dual or de facto Russian citizenship. Uzbekistan prohibits citizens from participation in foreign military actions. Mercenary activity is criminal under its law. But legal protections don't always translate into practical safeguards. Some migrant workers report that they were misled, offered job contracts that later turned out to involve frontline duties. Such cases raise serious questions. How voluntary is recruitment? How much choice do these individuals have? And what role do legal ambiguity, economic pressure, and migration status play in crossing that line? Beyond recruitment, there is evidence that Uzbek nationals are present on the battlefield. These reports suggest that Uzbek nationals are not just contracted behind the lines, they are in combat zones. Under fire, sometimes wounded or killed. Back home, Uzbekistan has laws that prohibit its citizens from participating in foreign wars or joining foreign military forces. Yet enforcement and judgment vary. Observers argue that in many cases, sentences are relatively mild or mitigated. Some courts consider family status, repentance, or prior legal standing when reducing punishment. To understand why Uzbeks find themselves in this predicament, we must examine motives and pressures. Economic necessity. Many are labor migrants with limited options. Wartime wages, even under risk, may exceed what they could earn otherwise. Some accept risk because they hope to send money home, support families, or repay debts. Migration status and coercion. Reports claim some were recruited in places where their legal or residency status in Russia was vulnerable, facing deportation, facing threats, or as offers to normalize status via military service. Some testimonies say individuals felt they had little choice, pressured contract terms, limited translation or legal guidance, lack of awareness or misrepresentation. Some say they believed they signed labor contracts, not combat roles, with language barriers, lack of legal support, or misinformation. Legal ambiguity or dual citizenship complicates jurisdiction, accountability, and legal risk. Limited recourse. Once in conflict zones, returning home with injuries or trauma, they rely on embassies or legal advocacy, but constraints may limit assistance. Behind each statistic is a human being, a migrant who left home to provide for their family, caught in the fog of war. Some have died far from home. Others arrived wounded. Some face prosecution rather than care. Their stories raise moral, legal, and ethical questions about individual agency, state accountability, and global conflict. What happens to their bodies, to their injuries? Who pays for medical care? Who advocates for their families? This phenomenon sits at the intersection of several big issues: sovereignty and citizenship. Responsibility of recruiting countries is exchange of status for service, voluntary or coercive. Ukraine's perspective on foreign soldiers fighting for Russia and the international ramifications. In human and labor rights, should migrant workers be protected from recruitment into conflict? And are international norms being violated? In closing, Uzbekistan's authorities face the challenge of protecting citizens abroad while enforcing its laws. Migrants and in-countries grapple with legal enforcement, support systems, and diplomatic pressure. International human rights advocates argue for better monitoring of migrant recruitment, clearer legal definitions, and accountability for coercive or deceptive recruitment. For those already serving, or who have survived, access to rehabilitation, medical care, legal representation, and support for families is critical. In a war that is often measured by tanks, territory, and treaties, few hear the echo of a migrant's footsteps, the mother waiting at home, the young child unaware of a father's fate, the man who crossed borders for work and ended up on a battlefield. This is not just a story of conflict. It is a cautionary tale of migration, law, and human vulnerability in the age of endless war.